All right, so this is my college football conference championship predictions, plus my playoff predictions based on what I predict the conference championships to go. So basically, I'm going to just go through every conference championship they start today, and we're going to go through them. So let's get started here. First will be the Conference USA because I'm just going to go in these through order of when they are played. So this game between Western Kentucky, who is 8-4, 6-2 in conference, and Jacksonville State, I believe, is 8-4 and is 7-1 in conference. They open as a 5-point favorite. Sorry, and this is tonight at 6 p.m. Central Time. So I'm going through some of the notes here between Jacksonville State. They lost. They played these two teams played each other just last week, and Jacksonville State lost 19-17. So I thought that was interesting to see that they're a 5-point favorite, even though they literally lost last week. They also had their starting quarterback get injured in last week's game, so he has the potential to be playing today. Yeah. But if not, they're going to be going with their backup, Logan Smothers. Tyler Huff was the quarterback from last week, so obviously I think a lot of this, them being favorited, is hoping that he does play. But Jacksonville State is third in the league in rushing yards per game at 257. So their quarterback kind of doesn't do a whole lot through the air anyways. They kind of rely on the run game. And Western Kentucky, like I said, they won last week. They average 272 passing yards a game, which is 21st in the country. Also, they only allow 175 yards a game, which is 12th. So they're really good on pass offense and defense. But their pass defense doesn't really matter against Jacksonville State because they run the ball anyways. But I think it's going to be a pretty close game. I'm going to take Western Kentucky here. They won last week. I'm going to take them to win again this week. Next up is going to be the AAC Championship between Army and Tulane. Army is 10-1, 8-0 in conference. They have yet to play their 12th game because they play Navy next week, which I think it's interesting that they play Navy after the conference championship games because the college football playoff bracket comes out Sunday. And Army still has one game left to play. So they're not going to make it this season. But if they would have beaten Notre Dame, they definitely would be in the picture for that. And then say they're 11-0, beat Notre Dame, get in the college football playoff, and then lose to Navy the week after, then they wouldn't even deserve to be in there. But because they play Navy after the college football playoff bracket comes out, they would be in there anyway. So I think that's a weird thing. They probably need to fix that, I think, next season, honestly. But Tulane's 9-3, 7-1 in conference, and they are actually a 5-point favorite here. Army is only lost its Notre Dame. Bryson Daly's their quarterback, but they kind of run the ball anyways. They average 312 rushing yards a game, the most in the league. They're the fourth best third down conversion rate into the league. They also have the sixth best defense in the league when it comes to yards allowed. They only allow 306 yards, and the eighth best scoring defense at 15 points a game. So they're pretty dominant. Overall, they haven't really had a great competition, but they've been dominant every game they've played except Notre Dame. Tulane, they lost to Memphis, who's pretty good, Oklahoma, and K-State. They beat Navy 35-0. Their quarterback is Darian Mensah. They average the sixth best scoring offense at 39 points a game, second best third down percentage. So both these teams are great at third down. And they're 12th in the league in defensive yards per game. So they're pretty dominant as well. Not quite as dominant defensively, but they're pretty dominant offensively as well. I think it's going to be a pretty close game. I actually am going to take Army to upset here, though, this week. Then we got Boise State and UNLV, which is going to matter a lot for potential college football playoff berth. The winner of this game will most certainly be in the college football bracket. Starts 7 o'clock tonight. These teams played earlier in the season. Boise State won 29-24. Boise State's only loss, of course, is a 3-point loss to Oregon. UNLV has 2 losses, one of them being a 3-point loss to Syracuse, and then I believe it was a 5-point loss to Boise State. So they have some good losses against good teams as well. Boise State opened as a 4-point favorite. Obviously, they're pretty good. They've won 10 straight games after losing to Oregon. Maddox Madsen is their quarterback. Obviously, they got Ashton Jeanty, who was an absolute dog. They were third in scoring per game, sixth in rushing yards per game. They have a great rush defense as well and a pretty bad pass defense, though. UNLV, their quarterback is Hajj Malik Williams. They have 254 rushing yards a game, which is fourth. They actually have a better rushing offense than Boise State. They're seventh in scoring offense. So both these teams are great offensively and great running the ball. And then UNLV actually has a great rush defense as well, so that could hurt Boise State there. I think it's going to be close, but I'm going to take Ashton Genty and Boise State to win this game and secure a top 4 seed, most likely, in the college football bracket. Saturday starts off with Ohio and Miami of Ohio in the MAC. So the MACtion is real. Miami opens as a 1 point favorite here, so it's a pretty close spread here. These teams did play earlier, and Miami won 30-20. They're 8-4 with a 7-1 conference record. Ohio is 9-3 with a 7-1 conference record. Miami's quarterback is Brett Gabbert, which is actually Blaine Gabbert's brother. Blaine Gabbert's in the NFL. I'm not sure he's on a team right now, but he's been with Kansas City and Tampa Bay as a backup. So he has NFL blood in him, so that's pretty cool. They're 11th in defensive points per game, only allowing 17 points a game, which is pretty good. Miami's quarterback is Parker Navarro. They're 14th in rushing yards per game, and they're also 17th in defensive points per game. So both these teams are pretty good defensively. Ohio's good running the ball. Miami has an NFL quarterback's brother on their team, so they get that going for them. Miami won last time they played, but I'm going to actually take Ohio here to get the revenge this week. Then we got Arizona State and Iowa State in the Big 12 Championship for a battle for a college football playoff berth. This should be absolutely an amazing game. Starting off at 11 o'clock on Saturday. It should be an absolute great time here. But I'm looking here. Hold up. Okay. Yeah, looking here. They're both 10-2, both 7-2 in conference. Arizona State is a 2-point favorite. They've won 5 straight games. Their only losses all season are against Texas Tech and Cincinnati, and they beat good teams like K-State and BYU. Sam Levitt is their quarterback. He's pretty good. Cam Scatterbo is amazing as a running back. They average 195 rushing yards a game, which is top 25 in the country. Iowa State has wins against K-State, Baylor, but they also lost to Texas Tech and KU. Rocco Bett is their quarterback, and he's actually the son of Anthony Bett, who is a coach in the UFL for the St. Louis Battlehawks. So his dad is a professional football coach. So he has that family ties going there for them. They're also third in defensive yards allowed at only 157 a game. So they got a great defense here. I think it's going to be good. Very fun battle. I am taking the hot Arizona State to win this game. I think Cam Scatterbo is going to be really good. Next up is the SEC title game. Both these teams are already going to be in the college football playoff. This game here is a matter of who's going to be most likely the 2 seed versus who's going to be either the 5, 6, or 7 seed or something. If Georgia loses, they're probably the 7 or 8 seed. If Texas loses, they're going to be probably the 5 seed. And obviously the winner, I think, is going to be the 2 seed no matter who it is. These teams did play the regular season. Georgia won 30-15. Texas only loss is to Georgia. They beat Texas A&M is their only really good win here. They opened as a 2.5-point favorite, which I think is interesting. Georgia beat them last time by 15 points, and Texas is somehow favored now by 2.5 points. I don't really agree with that. I think Georgia should be favored. Georgia has wins versus Tennessee, Clemson, but they did lose to Ole Miss and Alabama. Texas quarterback obviously is Quinn Ewers. They're 16th in yards per game, 3rd in defensive yards per game, 1st in passing yards, defensive passing yards allowed. So they have a great pass defense, a great defense in general. Also 2nd in defensive points per game, only allowing 11.7 points a game. Georgia, Carson Beck is their quarterback, obviously. They're 10th in pass yards per game. They're also 25th in defensive points per game at 20.5. So a good defense as well. But Texas has been dominant on defense, but less dominant on offense. And Georgia's been pretty dominant on offense, especially passing the ball. I think it's going to be a close game. I'm going to take Georgia here in this game, though, actually, to win against Texas for the 2nd time this year. Then we got the Sun Belt Championship here between Marshall and Louisiana. Louisiana's 10-2, 7-1 on the conference, and Marshall's 9-3, 7-1 in conference as well. Louisiana is a 6-point favorite. So that actually the highest spread between any teams so far. These were like 2 days ago when I made this, so the spreads could have changed since then. But yeah, Louisiana is currently the highest favored team to win a conference title game. They're only one of their only 2 losses are to Tulane, and they lost to South Alabama, which is a pretty bad loss there. Marshall, their 3 losses are against teams like Oklahoma or what Ohio State, Virginia Tech, and Georgia Southern. So pretty good. Some pretty bad losses there as well. But the Sun Belt is not a very good conference, so you kind of expect that. Louisiana's quarterback is Chandler Fields. He's actually their quarterback, their second string quarterback. Their starter's been injured for a while, but they average 450 yards a game, which is top 20 there. Marshall, their quarterback is Braylon Braxton. They average 200 rushing yards a game, so they're top 20 rushing offense. Louisiana's top 20 total offense. So this could be a very high scoring game, most likely. I'm going to take Louisiana here. They are the heavy favorites, and I'm going to ride with that. Next up is going to be the ACC Championship. This is a very, very, very important game for the college football playoff. Obviously, the winner is going to be in. If SMU wins, they're probably going to be the 3 seed. If Clemson wins, they might only be making it as the 12th seed. They might be worse than Boise State and the Big 12 winner. So they could win and probably be the 12th seed here. Maybe the 11 if they want to be bump them up. I think if SMU loses, they still have a shot to make it in there at the 12th seed over Alabama. It's going to be really interesting to look in that. I'll get that later. I'll talk about that later. But SMU is 11-1. Their only loss is to BYU. They've won 9 straight games. Clemson has 3 losses, obviously. They lost to Georgia, South Carolina, and Louisville. SMU's quarterback is Kevin Jennings. They average 39 points a game, which is 5th in the country. They have the 4th best rushing defense in the league as well. Clemson has Cade Klubnik at quarterback. They're 7th in yards per game. They're 14th in scoring per game. So their offense is really good. Defense, not so much. And SMU has one of the best offenses and one of the best rushing defenses in the league. So it's going to be a showdown, in my opinion. I am going to actually take Clemson here to upset SMU and secure a spot in the college football playoff. And we got Penn State, Oregon. This is obviously the big game here. Both these teams are going to be in. Oregon, the winner is probably going to be the one. If Oregon wins, they're the 1 seed because they are undefeated, obviously. If Penn State wins, they're probably the 2 seed, I would assume. It depends. If Texas wins, they're going to be ahead of Penn State. But if Georgia beats Texas, Penn State beats Oregon, Penn State's the 1. So both these teams could be the 1 seed. The loser of this game is probably going to be the 5 seed. No lower than that. These are top 3 teams currently. Oregon's 1, Penn State's 3, so you can't really drop them anymore than number 5 if either one of these teams lose. But I think it's going to be a very, very fun game. Oregon, obviously undefeated. Dylan Gabriel's their quarterback. They average 457 yards a game. That's top 20. They're really good on third down percentage. Their defensive yards per game are top 10. They're 7th in pass defense. They're 9th in defensive points per game. An absolute dominant defense for Oregon. Their offense is really good as well. Penn State, led by Drew Aller, their only loss is a 7-point loss to Ohio State, who's a very good team as well. They're top 22 in offensive yards per game, so pretty good there. Defensive yards per game, they're 4th. So a very dominant defense as well, and have the 4th best scoring defense. So both these teams, dominant defense and a really good offense. Oregon has had a tougher schedule by a little bit, so take that as you will. I'm going to take Oregon here in this game to stay undefeated, secure the number 1 seed, and Penn State probably drops to either the 5 or the 6 seed. I'll get that going on, I guess, right now, actually. So, yeah, with all those, I'm going to give my college football predictions, my college football playoff prediction with the brackets. These are the bracket standings. So, obviously, the top 4 teams here are going to be conference champions, even though Penn State and Texas are probably better than the Big 12 and Boise State. So, but yeah, this is the bracket rankings these are my bracket rankings based off of my conference championship predictions. So number 1 obviously is Oregon, and this number in parentheses is the number they were in the bracket last week. So Georgia, number 2, they were 7, but they win their conference, so they're going to jump up to number 2 here. Boise State was 4. I think they jump ahead to 3 because they jump ahead of the ACC because SMU lost, and I think they're better than Arizona State here at number 4, who was number 12. But I do think they're also better than Clemson because Clemson upset SMU. So I think they're better than them. Number 5 is Texas. They're the best, the second best team in the country, and they lose. I think they're still going to be better than Penn State here, who's going to drop 1 spot. And these 2 are easily the top 2 non-conference champion winners. And because Texas was ahead of them last week, obviously I'm going to take Texas to be ahead of them again this week. Number 7 is Notre Dame. They got to drop one spot because because Georgia jumps ahead of them, winning the conference, and Texas stays ahead of them. Number 8, Ohio State stays there. Tennessee stays at 9. Indiana stays at 10. Now 11, 12, and 13 are going to be interesting because you have Clemson, who obviously won their conference, so they're one of these 3 teams. You got Alabama, who was in here last week, and you got SMU, who was in here last week. So Clemson is obviously a lock. I'm going to put Clemson at number 11. I think they are better than Alabama if they win this game. Both teams have 3 losses, but Clemson is a conference champion. So I think that has in the ACC. It's not like it's a group of 5 conference champion, even a Big 12 conference champion. It's like if Arizona State was 9-3 and then won their conference championship, maybe they're lower than Alabama. But with Clemson in the ACC, I think that's a better conference than the Big 12 potentially. Now, obviously, Arizona State I think is better than Clemson, but I think the ACC. There's definitely an argument for the ACC being better than the Big 12. But with Clemson beating SMU, I think they're obviously going to be ranked higher than SMU, and I would honestly rank them higher than Alabama. So you don't really have any team here that's getting left out for a conference championship like we've had all season long. Like the number 12 ranked team in the poll was actually better than one of the conference championships that have to jump ahead of them. In this bracket here, that is not the case. By 12 seed, it comes down to SMU or Alabama. SMU, this is only their second loss of the season, and it's to a conference champion who's a top 11 team in the country. So is that resume better than Alabama, who's 9-3? Alabama did not play this week, so I think SMU. This game has to be close against Clemson for SMU to be ahead of Alabama. But personally, I'm gonna have them ahead of Alabama. So you got Alabama dropping 2 spots because Clemson jumped ahead of them, and Arizona State jumps ahead of them here. And SMU was ranked number 8 last week, right? So they dropped from 8 down to 12 after losing a 1 possession game in their conference champion to a top 11 team now. So you can't really I feel like you can't drop them any more than 4 spots. Ohio State last week, they dropped 4 spots after losing to Michigan, right? Who's not a good team. So SMU losing a close game to Clemson, who's a very good team, dropping them 4 spots, I think is very fair, and I think that knocks Alabama out of the college football playoff, which I feel like a lot of people would be happy about. There's going to be a lot of controversy there, but I think it's deserved for SMU to still be in this college football bracket because they only lost 2 games, and one of them was their conference championship. That is going to be it for the video. Thank you for watching. I think I'll make an official college football playoff prediction after the official one gets released. Also, make sure to come back for that. I also got NFL and NBA videos to look forward to as well.